The Presence. In the history of the DC Universe, the Presence is the ultimate creator, the source of all things, often presented as a fictionalized counterpart to the God of the Abrahamic religions. In particular, he is often given Christian attributes. However, the religious cosmology of the Omniverse is complex, with many pantheons of gods coexisting alongside each other. It includes elements from multiple religions, mythologies, and modern concepts such as the Endless. The Presence has taken numerous forms throughout history and has many aspects, including the voice, the hand, and the source. History. Big Bang. The Big Bang is a cosmological model of the universe that has become well supported by several independent observations. After Edwin Hubble discovered that galactic distances were generally proportional to their redshifts in 1929, this observation was taken to indicate that the universe is expanding. If the universe is seen to be expanding today, then it must have been smaller, denser, and hotter in the past. This idea has been considered in detail all the way back to extreme densities and temperatures, and the resulting conclusions have been found to conform very closely to what is observed. Before existence, there was only a great darkness, a single, black infinitude. Within that darkness, however, a single, burning light was born. As it grew, the darkness screamed, resulting in an imperceptible flaw in the once immaculate perception of the light. And in that moment, the cosmos was born. As the voice, the light created the Word and the Omniverse. In the process, it wrote its divine name into all creation on a submolecular level, making the light present in all things. In Abrahamic cosmology, his first living creation was the first of the fallen, created to be his companion and the embodiment of his conscience. His next creations were the archangels Samael and Michael, the most powerful of the celestials. He gave Michael power enough to create dull matter, and Samael the power to bring it to life. God also created the jinns alongside the angels, but differ from them in nature. While angels were created from light, the jinns were created from smokeless fire. As the source, he sent the hands out into the greater overvoid, where they were tasked with creating new multiversal systems using 7 connective energies. After the creation of their multiverse, each member of the hands would pass and allow their energies to return to source of all things. However, one amongst their number, Perpetua, refused. She built a vicious, predatory multiverse, one locked in a never-ending cycle of crisis and rebirth. Her children, however, betrayed her, and she was imprisoned within the source wall. Her flawed, predatory multiverse was made to restart. As the source, the Presence became bonded to a being of unknown provenance known as the Mother Entity. Though their connection was not marriage in any traditional sense, the Mother Entity is considered to be the Source's bride. The Mother Entity is the energy tapped into by the Mother Boxes of the Fourth World. Zeus of Mount Olympus supposed that through the manifestation of the Source, he birthed Erdgrund, the vast and unknowable realm of the old gods. When Erdgrund shattered, it cast the God Wave through the cosmos, seeding the fabric of the multiverse with the potential for godhood. Firstborn of the God Wave were the beings of Apocalypse and New Genesis. As the God Wave moved through the cosmos, the second-born pantheons, like the gods of Olympus, arose. According to the Orisha Orunmila, one of the many faces he wore was Mawu, creator god of the Dahomey peoples. The rebellion. When the first of the fallen came to believe that God was crazy, God banished him from heaven and cast him into hell. The first became Satan, and was the first of many others who would fall. When the rogue guardian Krona traveled back in time, he witnessed a great hand shaping and creating the multiverse. Some believe this to the hand of the Presence. God also created Adam and Lilith, ostensibly the first 2 human beings, and made them inhabit the Garden of Eden, but when Lilith rebelled, he banished her and created Eve instead. Eventually, the jinns also rebelled under the leadership of Elias, the devil himself, by they having been created to be subjugated to the will of humanity. In the meantime, God began to speak to the host only in the form of the Presence, only heard and never seen, and some of his angels began to doubt his decisions, in part because of what happened to Lilith. Eventually, Samael led a rebellion against God, convincing many of his brothers to write their own destiny. God did not participate in the battle, but neither did he approve of violence among his children, so Michael gathered several faithful angels and fought against Samael and his followers, who were eventually defeated and thrown into hell. Believing that Samael, who was now called Lucifer, would have been happier away from him, God entrusted him with the government of hell, already foreseeing what would have happened later. As expected, Lucifer entered the Garden of Eden and tricked Adam and Eve into their exile from paradise onto Earth. New Earth. But that was what God wanted, because now humans were mortal and had free will, being able to shape their own destinies, choosing virtue or sin, good or bad. With rebellion and sin, the concept of justice was also born, and some celestial beings, first Eclipso and then the Spectre, that became the personification of God's wrath and vengeance, respectively. Eons later, faithful angels like Zoriel and rebels like Asmodel, redeemed demons like Etrigan and corrupted like Naren, played a role in their eternal lives, but also mortals, who contributed with each action to the great project. God also created Jesus of Nazareth, that his teachings started the religion of Christianity. The disembodied voice of God spoke to and empowered Jim Corrigan with the Spectre. God answered Spectre's prayers and resurrected the murdered Justice Society. The voice of God is the primary force responsible for Spectre's powers. The hand of God was seen by Swamp Thing, Deadman, and the Phantom Stranger when heaven was threatened by the return of the original darkness. The Presence, as God, also commands the allegiance of the host of angels, including Zoriel. Lucifer continued to try to escape from God's plan, which eventually abandoned his place in hell and entrusted him to dream of the endless, and began to roam earth in his new rebellion. Dream organized an auction between gods and demons to find a new lord of hell, but God ordered two angels, Ramiel and Duma, to take possession of hell on his behalf, an authority that overcame that of all other auctioneers. Later, God gave his wayward son a letter of passage out of creation in exchange for a task that any of his other angels could have done, so he arranged for even faithful Michael to be expelled from heaven, and eventually he disappeared, abandoning his tower in the Silver City, with his name beginning to disappear from all atoms of creation, a condition that could only end with its dissolution. When God appears in physical form, he sometimes presents himself as a gentleman wearing a bowler hat, dark suit, umbrella, and with a gray mustache. Prime Earth. In the midst of the nearing end of the universe, God sent Mary Seward down as a ghost to kill both Lilith and Cain. Lilith was forced back to hell by the closing of the portal when Andrew shoved the Keeper into it, transforming Tig back into her proper self in the process. The Presence is the creator of the Council of Eternity, a circle of ancient wizards based out of the Rock of Eternity that oversaw and defended the ancient world, judging the guilty for their sins until they were betrayed and wiped out by Taith Adam. The only survivor of the council was Mama Reagan, who exiled Taith, naming him Black Adam. Aspects. The Supreme takes many forms. While many are analogous to the Abrahamic God, this is not universally true. The light, the primordial aspect of the one above all dating back to the moment of creation. Through interaction with the darkness, the light, once an immaculate and infinite whiteness without flaw, became part of the first narrative and created within itself story. The source, the great energy behind creation, the source is responsible for the power behind creation. Much of the underlying architecture of the cosmos was forged by the source, which sent its hands into the overvoid in order to create new multiversal systems, places where new stories might grow and thrive. The Hand of Fire, a form used by the source to communicate with the new gods and occasionally those connected with them, like Superman and, in one situation, Renee Montoya. Powers and abilities. Powers. God physiology, the Presence is a divine entity of infinite power. Omnipotence, as God, the Presence possesses infinite power. Through his own will, he defined every variable physical law of the universe, stating everything happens because he makes it happen. Source of creation, the Presence birthed the very cosmic energies that all multiverses in the void spring from. Each of these energies are essential for the good working of the multiverse, with all its elements operating in harmony with one another, as one ensures motions, another feelings, another magic, and so on. Dimensional travel, the Presence can instantly transport himself and others across dimensions, such as between heaven and hell, as well as outside of creation. Immortality, the Presence is eternal. He does not age and cannot be harmed by any normal means. Metamorphosis, the Presence is capable of instantly altering his form at will, allowing him to appear as anyone or anything. Power distribution, the Presence used his power to create the angels, as well as grant the demiurgic power to Michael, and the Lightbringer power to Lucifer. Omniscience. Cosmic awareness, as God, the Presence possesses understanding of the workings of the universe on a cosmic scale. Clairvoyance. Omnipresence. Abilities. Charisma. Deception. Occultism. Genius-level intellect.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.